And it is the Saturday Coffee Klatch with yours truly, Robert Reich, and Heather Lofthouse. Heather, how are you today? How are you? Actually, this has been quite a momentous week. How are you feeling?
I mean, what a difference an election makes. Usually we meet for coffee and I think, ooh, this has been a brutal week. Now, this is
Yeah.
still a very hard time for a lot of people. I don't want to be dismissive of that. However, this election on Tuesday night and the stuff that's happening around it has buoyed me. I'm in a better place than I was last coffee.
Well, my temptation. I'm a cup half full guy, or even an eighth full guy, and my temptation is to have a celebration. To say, this is the beginning of the new era. This is a major turnaround. I've used the metaphor of the sleeping giant wakening, but I may be overdoing it. I mean, this is just, remember, this is New York City, New Jersey, Virginia. We're going to hear about more a little bit in a few minutes, but this does feel different. It feels like the 2024 election. Those results are now over. We're into a new period of time politically. But Heather, let me just make one comparison, if you'll forgive me. This was also the week in which the Tesla board of directors decided to give Elon Musk $1 trillion pay package.
I'm sorry.
A, tr- a
Can you say it
trillion,
again?
$1 trillion. Most people have no idea how to even envision $1 trillion. This was also the week in which you had a person who calls himself a democratic socialist who wants to get rid of billionaires, thinks billionaires should not exist, elected mayor of New York City. I mean, think of the split screen. Think of the grotesquerie of capitalism that Elon Musk represents, the kind of extreme, bizarre bonkersness of capitalism, next to what the people, a huge number of people in New York decided to do in terms of their leadership in New York City. I mean, I just find it amazing.
I find it amazing. If you spent $1 million a day, every day, it would take you 2,700 years to spend $1 trillion.
Well, that's right. Or another way of putting it is, if this pay package actually, and by the way, I don't want to get into the intricacies of this pay package, but the point is that it's equal to $1 trillion is equal to $274 million every single day for.
10 years. I think it's 10 years.
I mean, this is a grotesque distortion of what we mean or have ever meant by capitalism. I don't know what is.
It's unfathomable, but I want to try to actually depict it for people. So we'll keep working on that. So the great news is we have our colleague who is our elections correspondent, Vishal Shankar. He is going to be joining us from the regional desk, or just where he works.
You mean
in
our regional desk?
In Madison, Wisconsin.
Vish, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
So I want to get into, so as soon as you were talking about Mamdani won versus Elon, I mean, Mamdani, what a politician. What an incredible win. What can we learn from it? Not only that, let's look at all the elections, because there were a lot of things that not all of them are at the top of the newspaper. So let's get into it, you two.
Well, Vish, I specifically, I mean, the headlines over the last few days have given us kind of the overview with regard to New Jersey and Virginia and certainly New York City. But let's get under the headline. Is there anything you can tell us that sort of really reveals the extent to which this is or is not a blue wave?
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things we could learn from all of the races. I'll start with New York because it's the one everyone wants to talk about. I think this Mamdani's amazing victory. I mean, he crushed Andrew Cuomo by 8 points, sending him back to the suburbs. Fingers crossed, we hope forever. It's a victory of the many versus the money. I mean, there were billionaires like Bill Ackman and Michael Bloomberg spending so much money. I wrote this down, close to $40 million in these outside super PACs running really nasty attack ads against Mamdani, and he still prevailed. So I think this is a testament to what the power of organized people can do against organized money.
I like that. I like your phrase, the many versus the money.
It's a Vish original. Don't fact check me on that.
Do you remember Al Gore At one point during the 2000 campaign, he said, "This is really about the people versus the powerful." I thought that was pretty
I
good.
remember it like yesterday. I may have been 3 years
I
old,
was
but
going
it's
to
seared in
say,
my brain.
but
But
the
I
money
like
factor is incredible. The money factor, I mean, there was what 5.7 million went into Mamdani or anti-Cuomo expenditures, but then over 40 million on the Cuomo side, and Mamdani swept.
Well, it's also an indication that he had really an army of volunteers. 92, actually, it's closer to 100,000 volunteers in New York City, and my granddaughter, 17-year-old among them, but huge numbers of young people going door to door. I haven't seen anything like this since what? Since when? When have we seen this before? I mean, we didn't have this degree of volunteer door-to-doorism even in the Barack Obama campaign in 2016. I have to go back in my mind to Eugene McCarthy and Bobby Kennedy in 1968 to come up with anything this dramatic.
I just wish
Well,
he had stuck a
I'm
little more to the middle, that moderate middle. It feels like if he had just done that.
Well, interestingly,
his
I love
messaging?
Vish. What about the moderate middle? I mean, some people are interpreting New Jersey in the gubernatorial race there, and also the gubernatorial race in Virginia as being exemplars of Democrats moving to the moderate middle. Is that how you read it?
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, the neoliberal chattering class is at it again. I mean, they certainly have their own incentives for wanting to downplay Mamdani and upplay the Virginia and New Jersey. But I would caution them because, I mean, I actually went back like any political sicko and watched some of the ads that Spanberger and Cheryl were running and what was on their campaign materials and their websites. This was the affordability election. And a lot of the themes and topics that these two moderates talked about in the campaign, I mean, they sound pretty populist to me. You take Spanberger, she spent the campaign talking about the Doge cuts and the reduction in forced layoffs that have devastated Virginia. I mean, remember, so many federal workers live in Virginia and commute to their jobs in D.C. from there. They're now standing in literal bread lines in Virginia because of the devastation that Trump and by extension the Republicans that have been attached to the hip with Trump have wrought. So you have the layoffs there. She also campaigned against rising utility costs. I mean, I think this is a pretty sleeper populist issue, how much energy costs are going up because of these AI data centers. I know, Bob, you've written a lot about the AI bubble. I think this is an issue that we're going to see a lot of Democrats across the country. Cheryl talked about this as well in New Jersey, campaigning against going into the midterms. And speaking of Cheryl, I mean, she went after a few, this I thought was smart, naming corporate villains and taking sort of a corporate crackdown approach to her economic messaging. Real estate investors and predatory landlords who are driving up the cost of housing. The utility companies and the energy companies who are raising energy bills. So again,
Okay, well, this
these
is very
are moderates,
this
but they're not campaigning on moderate issues.
this is fascinating because again, the press, the mainstream press, what they are saying is that yes, you have Mamdani doing something that looks very, very radical. He sounded radical, but it's actually, if you look across the country, it's the moderate Democrats who are winning. But what you're saying, Vish, is that the affordability issue is also an economic populist issue. That if the Democrats really run with this, it means inevitably that they are going to be criticizing the power of big corporations and the power of maybe the very, very wealthy in terms of their political power. I don't know if you want to go that far, but I certainly wonder whether Democrats are going to get this cue across the country and whether I don't think the Democratic National Committee is going to get this, but if Democrats at the grassroots across the country, Democrats running in the midterms are going to understand the implications of all of this for the Democratic Party, for the message, for really the kind of economic populism that seems to be popular with the country, what people need. People don't want the status quo.
I wish we could
Certainly.
rebrand our lexicon, though. You've said this, Bob, so many times, but the middle versus the left versus the right. I mean, it's not helpful. That's not the reality we're living in. So can we work on Changing our dictionary?
Well, let's
Up,
work on
down?
it. I would like to. I mean, I don't know whether we want to, Vish, talk about this with you, but maybe we do. But there is some fundamental economic shifts going on,
Yep.
and we need to talk about it because it's all from a 30,000-foot view of what this election that we just had really is all about. There is some very dramatic change going on at the ground.
Well, I think let's do a little more on the non New York, Virginia, New Jersey races, because I want to talk about some wins there. And also the fact that Trump says, quote, I don't want to hear about the affordability. I mean, he's acting like affordability is a new term like groceries. Just really floored him the other year when he was like, "Look, we keep using groceries. Groceries. I mean, so he doesn't want to talk about affordability. And you know what? It's obvious he doesn't want to talk about affordability. And I think that's why a lot of people came out and said, hi, you're not seeing me. You're not seeing what I'm going through, right?
Well, it's obviously. I mean, it's his tariffs and his economy, and again, we'll talk about this in a moment. But a lot of people are struggling. I mean, most Americans are struggling right now. They are, and then you have the shutdown. You have what's happening to food stamps. What's happening to a lot of people with regard to healthcare costs soaring, and are likely they're seeing what's going to happen to healthcare costs. A lot of people are saying, the Trump administration and the Republicans don't get it. They are not seeing what we are actually going through.
But I think, and the severity of the pain is significant. It is federal workers who are having to take out loans with interest rates. It is children who can't eat. And then you've seen all the latest USAID reports that are coming out, 600,000 deaths, 2/3 of which are children. And this is going to be, I think his name is Rhodes, but a scholar who's basically saying this is one of the biggest man-made pushes of death that we've seen. I mean, it's really
around the world. Yeah.
Around the world.
Yeah.
It is a horrific time, and I think the voters are realizing it. I just want to talk about a few other of these wins that I think are so important. So in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, I mean, I loved reading all the takeaways and all the tweets and all the articles, because it was things like ousted, and took over and kicked out, So in Bucks County, for example, a sheriff who had been collaborating with ICE out, right? New sheriff in. We had their whole school board has now been revamped. And that infamously was a school board that was anti-LGBTQ and was coming in so hard after, canceling books and all of it. And so those wins in Georgia, where we haven't seen Dems in years and years, what does this mean for Mississippi? What does it mean for the midterms?
I mean, we're kind of bearing the lead here. California, Prop 50, I believe called the minute that the polls close. I mean, that's going to be huge for redistricting going into 2026. And a lot of the Democratic efforts, I think in Virginia and Illinois, they're kind of heating up now to counteract what Trump and the Republicans are doing to redraw the maps.
Vish, let me, on that redistricting issue, can I just ask you a question? Because a lot of the maps that the Republicans have redrawn or want to redraw right now, the redistricting maps in Texas, for example, assume that the Latino vote is basically going to the Republicans. But after what we saw Tuesday, is that a fair assumption?
I think this is a catastrophic miscalculation by the Republicans, thinking that the swings in 2024 to Trump, which we should underscore were mainly because of cost of living, that people thought he could shake up the status quo and deliver more affordability. Obviously, a year in, he's failed to do that. That's why you saw on Tuesday night in Virginia, in New Jersey, even in the New York City mayoral race, huge swings of Latino voters back to the Democrats. This is true among Asian American voters as well, especially among young voters. So I remember there was a lot of panic after the election. What can we do to win back young men? And the key is not only talking about affordability, it's about delivering on affordability. And I think that's going to be a key thing to watch in the races that just happened, is can these Democratic candidates who were just elected actually deliver this agenda and convince voters that they are the better choice going into the midterms to provide relief on this cost of living crisis.
I think immigrants are scared, and then I also think that these incumbents, where all this gerrymandering is happening, are shaking in their boots. I think they're thinking, wow, it is going to be much harder than we thought. And is this going to be a disaster?
Well, again, we're dealing with such small margins for the Republicans in the House and the Senate. And this is why, if there is a little bit of a blue wave, even a small blue wave, this is huge. This is I don't want to predict the end of, Trump's ability to destroy democracy, but it certainly is going to be much, much harder.
So, Vish, while we have you, tell us, what are some of the surprising things we're seeing at the local level that people are talking less about?
There were a couple of big mayor's races besides New York City. I think the most fun one was in Cincinnati, where J.D. Vance's half brother lost his long shot bid to be the mayor to the Democratic incumbent. But I also want to flag in Boston. This one is very interesting. Incumbent progressive mayor Michelle Wu won re-election completely uncontested because she crushed her only real opponent in the first round of voting by something like 70 points. And maybe Andrew Cuomo should have taken notes here. He was so embarrassed, he dropped out before the November general election despite qualifying for the ballot. And remember, Wu, that is somebody who Mamdani has said he wants to model his term as mayor on. So I think she's a big face to watch for the future of the Democratic Party.
What about Mississippi?
Yes, this is a testament to just how much of a shellacking the Republican Party took across the board, right?
Isn't that an Obama term? Who says shellacking?
That's the great irony of it, isn't it? Well, the Democrats in Mississippi, which is not a state Democratic Party you would assume to be very strong, for the first time in 13 years, they have broken the supermajority of the Republican Party in the state Senate. So, it's not a huge victory, but it is enough to probably gum up the works of some really horrible thing that the Mississippi Republican Party might try to do. And again, underscores just how bad things are for Trump and the Republicans across the board.
So, I want to just pause for a second. Vish, thank you so much. I have some more questions for you if we have time, but I want to pause and just talk about for a moment what the overall lesson here is for the Democrats, but also for the country. Where are we going? Where are we heading? What can we learn from all of this? It's not just affordability, I don't think. I think it's also that people have had it with the techniques that Trump is using. All the exit polls show that people are just think Trump is out of his mind, that he's losing it, that there's an extremism in the administration that scares people, not just scares immigrants or the children of immigrants, but scares the whole country.
And we should mention the juxtaposition of, as the affordability crisis is getting worse, what is Trump doing? He is building this gilded ballroom, taking a wrecking ball to the White House for his billionaire donors. So, the contrast alone couldn't be clearer. But I alluded to this earlier, and I want to underscore it again. The key here for Democrats being not only campaigning on affordability, but delivering it. I think in Virginia and New Jersey, there's a real test case now. This is unified Democratic governance, huge majority in the Virginia state legislature for them. Can they deliver things like a higher minimum wage, paid family leave, repealing the right to work law in Virginia, which I think is going to be huge. And the same for New York City. I thought one thing Mamdani did that was very, very smart this week after he won the election. Well, two things. One, he appointed Lena Khan to run his transition. The other is he said, I am going to keep the campaign infrastructure that I built, the huge volunteer army that brought me to Gracie Mansion. I'm going to keep that infrastructure while I'm in office so that I have an army of volunteers to draw upon when I need to enact my agenda, when I need to pressure City Hall, state legislators, Governor Kathy Hochul. This was the big blunder of Obama, was that he mostly discarded the campaign apparatus that he built in 2008. That, of course, led to the Tea Party, the down-ballot carnage for the Democrats. So I'm very optimistic.
Well, Obama did want to.
Obama
said he was going to try to keep that structure, that army together. But you're right, he failed to do that. It'll be interesting to see on the city level with Mamdani, whether he is able to. It seems to me it's going to be much easier for him to do that, but it also requires that he move forward with some of his more, let's say, controversial proposals. I mean, he wants to
Right.
make the minimum wage in New York City. He wants to raise it to $20 an hour, moving to $30 an hour. He also wants to raise taxes on the wealthy in New York City. I mean, I'm all in favor of this, but he wants to use that to pay for the free buses and other things that he has said he wants to deliver to people in terms of free childcare. He's got to move very, very fast to keep the enthusiasm going and to get these things through, right?
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. Well, Vish, thank you for joining us. Elections correspondent, Vishal Shankar. So we're
Vish,
going
it's
to
great
drag
to
you
see you.
back
Thank
here,
you.
but it's good to get under the surface of the election with you. Thank you.
My pleasure, guys. See you soon.
Okay.
See you soon.
So, Bob, so let's continue. So your big questions are, what the heck does this mean? How is Trump going to respond? What does it mean for politics? What does it mean for the midterms? I think we need to talk a little bit about what is happening with the economy, right? I mean, we've talked about it's the affordability, stupid, is what we've learned from
Well,
Tuesday.
here's the thing, Heather. One of the big stories that I haven't seen covered nearly enough that underlies all of what has happened this past week and also the shift in politics is not just the affordability crisis, but what does that affordability crisis actually mean? It means you have, number one, you have the tariffs that are driving up costs for millions of people. Number two, you also have wages that are absolutely stagnant for most Americans. You have jobs that are not growing. Now, we don't have the latest jobs report. We don't have it because obviously the Bureau of Labor Statistics is shut down. But we know from private sources that are also following the jobs, not quite as well as the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We know that there's been almost no job growth at all. There are a lot of indications that the reason this economy continues to move forward is solely on the strength of the richest 10% of Americans, and they in turn are able to spend largely because the stock market. They own
right,
the stock
because of
market.
their AI stock.
They are, that's right. Their stocks, whether it's AI or anything related to AI or the big high-tech companies, are doing very well, and that stock is, those shares of stock have helped the top 10% continue to spend, but that's all very fragile. What happens if there is any kind of an economic, let's call it what it is, a bursting of the AI bubble or a bursting of the high-tech bubble or a bursting of the crypto bubble? Any of these speculative bubbles could burst. The stock market is riding a very, very fragile wave right now. So this is what worries me about the struggle that many people are already in. The bottom 90% of Americans are not doing well. The top 10% are doing well. The middle class of America, and this is the big news to me, the middle class is actually more on the side of not doing well than it is on the side of doing well. The middle class, 20, 30 years ago used to be doing very, very well. But now the middle class is in that old paradigm of the have-mores and the have-lesses. The middle class is mostly have-less. They turned out to vote. A lot of them really are very upset. It's not just affordability, it's their standard of living is being threatened.
But I
and
also
this administration
think the
is making it
cruelty-
worse for them.
But
I'm sorry?
the cruelty as well, all of this, I mean, we've said it, but SNAP benefits are not being recharged, even though, there's been lots of lawsuits and going back and forth. Also, healthcare coverage going up. All of this is happening at once. And I think people are scared and hurting. I mean, I think they're angry and they're voting against Trump in many ways. But I think it's really, to your point about America, the giant is awakening. People are just saying, this is not working for me. And I think there was a sense when so many people voted and it wasn't a mandate. It was, not as many people as Trump likes to claim voted for him. I think it wasn't the whole country. It wasn't everyone coming in and saying this is a huge right-wing movement from all of the country. I think what we learned from Tuesday is that democracy is still alive. The people are saying, you know what? I voted in one way, but I am shifting my vote. And we can talk about it being, for thermostatic reasons and all the political polling terms of why people vote and vibes and all that. But I think it's people are not happy. And
Well,
this
I think
is the silver lining, as you would say.
Well, it's an awkward silver lining to say that people are not happy as a silver lining. But I think you're absolutely right, Heather, that people don't define themselves. If they ever did, they're no longer defining themselves primarily as Democrats or Trump Republicans. They are defining themselves as people who really are just trying to survive, trying to get by, trying to make enough money to support their families in very trying circumstances. And they are seeing that the Trump Republicans who run the entire government, all three branches, including arguably the Supreme Court, they have resulted in prices going up and also a government that is totally dysfunctional. I mean, the shutdown is being blamed clearly on the Republicans. Even Donald Trump, in his reactions to what happened Tuesday night, he says, well, one of the biggest factors is the shutdown. Well, for Trump to admit that the shutdown is being blamed on the Republican Party is, to me, that's a game changer right there.
And he's still talking about canceling the filibuster, abolishing it.
Well, it's not going to happen. I mean, the Senate Republicans know that if they tried to cancel the filibuster, if the Senate swings to the Democrats and the independents who caucus with the Democrats in the midterms, well, that's a very dangerous position for the Republicans to be in, because that means the Democrats could do things like give statehood to the District of Columbia.
Yep.
That's 2 senators.
I know, but I like it whenever he's on Truth Social shouting about abolishing the filibuster. I mean, if I were on it, I would like it, but I'm not actually on the platform. I am actually sad about something, which is Cuomo is now officially out. I mean, there's no way, but we have this clip of you that we have to play, but I think this is the last time we're going to be able to play it.
Well, it depends on what the clip is.
Well, you'll see.
Heather?
Can we just watch it?
Oh, come on, Chief.
That's it, O'Brien. I need your seal and your peace right now. You too, Reich.
Oh, yeah? Where are you going to find somebody with my skills, huh?
We already have. Former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Andrew Cuomo.
Cuomo.
Oh, gosh. Well, we'll now retire that.
I don't exactly remember when that was made. That was something that I did years ago.
Early aughts, probably?
That was the early aughts.
Probably.
That was the early aughts.
Ought not have done it? No.
I ought not have done it.
I think you ought to have done it.
But it was, Mario Cuomo, can I just say
Yes.
that there are some greats to me in American politics. Mario Cuomo was one of my dear friends. He came up to campaign for me when I was running for governor in Massachusetts in 2002. But that's not why he's a great man. He did some wonderful things. He was the one who came up with the phrase that we campaign in poetry, and we actually manage and administer and run the country in prose. And Mamdani used that phrase in his closing, his speech to his followers, accepting the election victory, and it's a very, very real thing.
That idea, I'm sorry, of poetry and politicians, now that this regime we're looking at, it almost is hard for me to process. But the Mamdani as a politician, I mean, he is pretty phenomenal.
It is remarkable. I mean, what he managed to do. It's not just the poetry of his words. I mean, he has an extraordinary capacity to connect with people. That old word charisma, he certainly has
Riz.
that.
Riz is what the kids call it today.
Charis.
No,
but
Riz.
he also did something that the late Paul Wellstone, did in Minnesota. And that is, you organize, you mobilize, you energize great numbers of people. You rely on the people. You create a campaign that is really emblematic of what democracy ought to be. That is a campaign of people going door to door, people getting out the vote, people who are really on your side, and you empower them. That empowerment is something that the Democrats used to do it. There are a few Democrats that have done it. I mean, Paul Wellstone is a good example, but it is very, very rare in today's politics. With all the political consultants, Heather, we haven't really talked about this very much, but the minute you declare that you are running, what happens, and I know this because it happened to me, is you are descended upon by all of these people who are known as political consultants who buy advertising and advise you on what to do and manage your campaign and essentially take your campaign away from you if you let them and make a lot of money off of your campaign and all of the donations to your campaign. This is something Democrats really, really have got to get away from. It's as bad as the domination of the corporate Democrats in many of these campaigns.
And I think we saw so many institutions and corporations and firms preemptively fold to Donald Trump. We've been watching this. And you know who's not folding? The people. And the people are not folding because people like Mamdani, politicians like Mamdani, are looking and saying, you don't have to fold. I have your back and we are going to win. And then it happens. And that is extremely buoying at a time, again, that is so rough for so many. Also, we had big news this week, and that is that Nancy Pelosi, Chair Emerita, is not going to run again. What did you think about that?
Let me just say, she's a dear friend. I think that she is one of the great heroes of America right now, but certainly over the last 30 years, she has been the person who almost single-handedly passed Obamacare, got Barack Obama to actually have the courage he needed to pass or to seek Obamacare and to get it done. She was the one. She is the one who did that. She also is the one who did something that we don't really talk very much about, although Donald Trump has tried as much as he could to get rid of it, and that is the Inflation Reduction Act. All of that is one of the greatest achievements of the Biden administration, and that is all of the work that went into the environment and all of the rules and regulations that came out of that, all of the subsidies to wind and solar, and all of the ways in which we began to do what we should have done years and years ago. That was Nancy Pelosi. She has been a terrific politician, a backroom politician, a frontroom politician. We will miss her and her leadership enormously. But this is part of what's happening, Heather. This is a passing of the torch to a new generation of young, democratic, progressive leaders. And it's not just Mamdani, it's also AOC, it's also across really across America. You can see in state after state, some of them are not yet at the level of very, very visible positions, but I know many of them, they are coming up, and it's great to see the power that they represent. And they are all saying very similar things about, they're on the side of the people, not the powerful. They are taking a very progressive and a very populist progressive position with regard to big corporations and getting money out of politics. I'm proud of them.
Hear, hear. And and they're saying, I will fight for you, which is what Donald Trump pretended to say or said, but didn't mean it.
And then he had this big tax cut for his friends, for the wealthy, and a big ballroom for his friends, the billionaires.
And a big shutdown for his non-friends.
And a big shutdown, that's right.
For everyone else.
Listen, Heather, we've got to get moving. We've got to sort of say goodbye today. But it's nice to see you.
And you. And it was good to have Vish on here.
And Vish, thank you for your political insights. And let me just say to all of you, this is a very big and important week. It's easy to overinterpret this and to say this is, we're going to change. Everything is changing from now on. But I think this was the kind of change that we weren't 100% sure we could achieve. I mean, it's not just a blowout for the Democratic Party, obviously, and it's not just great for progressives in terms of politics. It's a great tonic for all of us because hopelessness and despair and the kind of feelings of fear and intimidation that so many of us had and have had over the last 9.5 months, feels like years, but it's really been 9.5 months, really have now been proven to be something that we choose rather than we have imposed on us. And I think, Heather, as you said, Mamdani and some of the wins across America, not just in New York City, but really across the counties and the districts and the state level governance structures, state legislatures, what we are seeing is a resurgence of, well, I think I'd like to say, and I hope history will show, the resurgence of the ideals that made America what it is. It made America stronger. The ideals that Donald Trump and his ilk are trying to destroy. The ideals that really embody the very best of democracy, which is the people having the power, the people actually deciding what self-government is all about. And that is something, Heather, I think we all can toast. And it's something that I hope all of you watching us today, all of you participating, and you are part of the answer. You're part of the reason this has happened. All of you can celebrate yourselves for really right now, this day, this week. Congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Experience the drama.
Former Secretary of Labor Reich! No!
Experience the action. And even more drama.
Late night with Conan O'Brien's. Conan O'Brien's! No! No!
This summer,